ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। व्याप्तिरस्य निजेन निजेन मनसा पक्षे सपक्षे स्थिति व्यावृत्तिश्च विपक्षतोत्त विषये शक्तिर्न वै बाधिते। नैवास्ति प्रतिपक्षयुक्तिरतुलं शुद्धं प्रमाणं तमे समे भूयात् तत्त्वविनिर्णय भगवान् आनन्दतीर्थो मुनि। श्रीमद् आनन्दतीर्थार्यः सन्मनस्सरसि भुवि अनुव्याख्यान नलिने चञ्चरी गति मे मनः। सनातनं रूपं युगोपदर्शयन् आनन्द सिन्धुः परितः प्रवर्धयन् अंतस्तमस्तोमहरः राजतां चैतन्य रूपो विदुरद्भुतोदय। Hare Krishna, welcome you all for the next session of Vedanta Samantaka. So, Krishna willing, this will be the last session of Brahmana, after which we will get into Prameya section. Uh, so, can somebody recollect what we discussed in our previous class? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
So the last class, I think we discussed about Vedas being compared to Pratyaksha, Andha Tattva, Vyaghata, and Purarokti. These
Yes.
were the arguments of the Purva Paksha, which was against
Mm,
the Vedas,
mm,
and the Uttara Paksha
mm,
replies to those were seen.
mm.
Like, different, how the Purva Paksha questions are not valid was discussed. Then, yeah, what I can remember.
Yes, Prabhuji. Anybody else would like to add anything else to this?
And Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, that also we discussed. How the Pramana we have to take.
Yes, correct. All three of them, it should be a 3-track, not just 1 track.
And we also discussed that Prabhupada is perfect because he has been repeating what the previous acharyas and have told in the parampara.
Hmm.
And one should not be blindly accepting everything regardless of what is the context, whether it is applies to them or not. And various things which Prabhupada has told. Although also I remember now that there are some shastras which are not Shruti. There could be parihasya and other aspects of that context and the way in which the knowledge is there in the different sources. So unless it is Shruti, which is Apaurushaya, one should see it in comparison to Shruti. And also we discussed about if there is confrontation or if there is any debate between two elements of Shruti and Smriti, Shruti should be take precedence. Within the two Shrutis, one which is closer to Vedas should be precedence, something like that.
No, this is a critical point. If there is a Purana and if there is a Shruti, if there is a Shruti and Smriti, Smriti can be given less priority, saying Shruti is superior. But if two Shrutis conflict, both are accepted as valid and you have to explain both of them. You can't say one is valid and other is not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are then. There are a couple of points which I missed yesterday, which I would like to add. Just a minute.
Prabhu, you're speaking on mute, I think.
Yeah, sorry for that. Kali Yuga is the age of Darshan Shastras. There are many Darshan Shastras in Kali Yuga, starting with Charvaka Darshana, which is atheistic Darshana. Then there are other theistic Darshanas like Nyaya, Mimamsaka, Vaisheshika, Vedanta, Yoga. All these are the different darshanas that have become popular. They were always there in human society, but then they have somehow rose to prominence. So one thing unique about every darshana is it accepts certain standard of morality, some standard of ethics. Even in present day society, how much our people can be atheistic, but still they say that we should have some ethics. If there is no morality, then the no codes for morality, then it cannot be called as a darshan. It cannot be called as a darshana. Darshana means there are some standards of morality. So if somebody says, I don't believe any rules, then his own disciple will steal his money and go. So at least minimum you should have some rules that your student should not steal your money. So, what to speak of that? There are many much more rules like uh, how to deal with people and whose property belongs to. I mean, how a particular property belongs to someone, husband and wife. There are some rules. So many rules are there without which you cannot live. So, you cannot accept a system without ethics, without morality, without a standard. So now, instead of accepting a Paurusha standard made by human beings who are prone with faults, better accept Apaurusha, which is free from faults. That is going to be the Vedic argument here. Vedas themselves are divided. Yesterday there was a question about Vedas and also I'd like to elaborate little on that. Vedas are divided into four divisions. Apart from the four Vedas, each Veda is divided into four divisions. One is Samhita, one is Brahmana, Aranyaka, and finally the Upanishads. So, Samhitas are sections where there are mantras which are to be memorized, and this is primarily useful in Gurukula because Gurukula is the place where children memorize the mantras. So, Samhita is the section which is primarily memorized by Gurukulis. Once a student would have memorized the Samhitas, like everyone they have their Rig Veda or Yajur Veda, or and within them there are shakhas, Ashwalayana Sutra Shakha, Baudhayana Sutra Shakha. There are different shakhas within the Vedas also. So people would have memorized their shakha during Gurukula period. Once they get married, then they have to apply these principles for practical yajnas. So the process of applying for practical yajnas, that is given in the Brahmana. The Brahmana section deals with how to apply the teachings of the Vedas practically to perform yajnas to give something productive. Then the third one is Aranyaka. After sufficiently practicing the Grahastha Ashrama, when a person proceeds to the next stage called Vanaprastha, that is when he actually is supposed to reduce bodily consciousness. He is so much used to bodily consciousness, we have to give it up gradually. And for that, there are vratas and tapasyas, austerities to be performed for that. All these things are described in the Aranyaka. Finally, the Upanishads, once the person is sufficiently detached, then he takes sannyasa. And the sannyasa ashrama is a place where you study Upanishads, because Upanishads literally speak about disconnecting with the material world and thinking only about the absolute truth and having a connection with the absolute truth. So, in this way, generally, different sections of the society, different parts of the Vedas are studied. This is general. Hmm. So all these suktas, they have their rishis, they have their devatas, and they have their chanda. So in this way, different. In this way, they are what is that? The suktas and the stotras are differentiated from each other. Hmm. I told you a concept yesterday that on one hand it is mentioned Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjana. On the other hand, 15th chapter says Atosmi Loke Vedecha Pratita Purushottama. In the Puranic document, Puranic works and in the Vedic works, everywhere it is the Supreme Lord Purushottama only who is glorified. Elsewhere in the Mahabharata, it is also mentioned Vede Ramayane Chaiva Purane Bharate Kada Adi Ante Cha Madhye Cha Haris Sarvatra Giyate. Veda, Ramayana, Purana, Bharata, everywhere, beginning, middle, and end, it's only Supreme Lord Hari who is glorified, nobody else who is glorified. That is the point. But how can we understand when there are so many suktas and so many mantras, and each of them try to describe a different deity? This will be explained in detail in the next week, next Saturday probably. We will be explaining this in more detail. But something which very short, I will tell you that all the words originally denote the Supreme Lord only, and then they denote the individual entity. So, when you say mantras like Gananam Tva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamastu Astram. So, in this externally, it looks like it's a prayer to Ganapati. Actually, it is not a prayer to Ganapati. This mantra comes as a part of Indra Sukta. And Ganapati, the master of all the Ganas, the Devatas, is Indra. So, this directly refers to Indra. It doesn't refer to Lord Ganesha. It can also refer to Brahaspati, because he is the spiritual master of the Ganas or the Devatas. And because Supreme Lord is the supreme master of everyone, he is the supreme master of all the Devatas anyway. So that is why Ganapati can also refer to that Supreme Lord. So there is a Brahma Sutra called Sarva Shabda Vachakatvat. Through the Brahma Sutra, what we understand is that each of the mantras ultimately glorify the Supreme Lord Hari only. In the Ashwini Sukta, there are mantras like Ashwina, Yajvari, Rishe, Dravashpani, Suvatpati, Urubhajachana, Satam. So the Ashwini Kumaras, they give good health to people. That is the understanding of the Sukta. Now, Ashwini Kumaras are the Devatas who give good health to the people. Now, there are some Devatas who are superior to Ashwini Kumara. For example, Brahma is there. Then there is Rudra, Shiva is there. They are all superior to Ashwini Kumara. Who gives them health and what mantras they chant? Because ultimately the Vedas were revealed to Lord Brahma. Tene Brahma Hridayadikave Munyantyam Surya. At that time, these Ashwini Kumaras were not even born. So then those suktas, whom did they glorify at that point of time? So the original Ashwini Kumara is the Supreme Lord. So, because he is the ultimate benefit, real caretaker of everyone. So, when the Lord Brahma and others recite these mantras, they are actually glorifying the Supreme Lord. And that way, all these mantras, in a way, connect to the Supreme Lord only. So, that becomes very important to understand that any action you do, any karma you do, we are connecting it to the Supreme Lord directly based on our consciousness. But at the same time, we cannot give up doing karma. Now, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, contents of the Gita summarized. What is discussed in the chapter? The topics that is discussed are: first, Arjuna surrenders to the spiritual master, right? Once Arjuna surrenders to the spiritual master, then the spiritual master Krishna immediately starts explaining him the difference between body and soul, saying that we are not the body, we are the soul. Then Krishna says that once you understand the knowledge of body and soul, then you become sthita prajna. You don't get disturbed in wavering circumstances. You become fixed in consciousness. So you become sthita prajna. And one who becomes sthita prajna and has practiced sthita prajna, he will eventually go back to Godhead. Okay, so the step is first surrender to spiritual master. Second, hear from him about soul and body. Then study your practice of bhakti and become peaceful. And finally go back to Godhead. Now, this is such a simple procedure that it is mentioned here. Now, Krishna just finishes that, and what we do is we also just read this chapter and close the book. We don't go further. Because the idea is that a person takes initiation, practices bhakti, and finally goes back to God. What is the need to learn so much philosophy, so much reading, and so much of further things and all? But Arjuna was not like that. Arjuna asks a very practical question that, okay, what you are saying is there that I take shelter of spiritual master and I do these things, I become sthita prajna, I go back to Godhead. But then why are you engaging in war? What I should do, why I should waste time in war? I better focus on going back to Godhead. Now, that practical question makes Krishna explain about Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, where he explains Yajnarthat Karmano Anyatra Lokoyam Karma Bandhana. You have to perform your actions for Yajna. See, everyone has a role in the Yajna Chakra. Evam Pravartitam Chakram Nanu Varta Iti Haya Adhayur Indriyagamo Mogam Partasi Jivati. There is a cycle of Yajnas, and everyone has a role in this cycle. A Brahmana has a role because he performs the yajnas. Kshatriya has a role because Kshatriya facilitates the yajnas, gives some land, gives some charity, and that way. Vaishyas have a role because they give a lot of donations for the continuation of yajna. Finally, Shudras. Shudras, they do menial service and they bring the grains necessary for yajna, they bring the wood necessary for yajna. So everyone participates in yajnas some way or the other. So that way you will find that even somebody who is doing very menial, humble services like toilet cleaning and all those things, all of them have some connection with yajna, because if a masoner doesn't build a house, if a toilet cleaner doesn't arrange for toilet cleaning, how can a brahmana do yajnas in temple? So definitely everyone has some participation in yajnas and they should perform their swadharma, and in this way they should all give the results for yajna. So that is essential. So when the society uh, expands. Currently, what is happening is we are picking a few people, we are preaching to them, we are telling them importance of chanting Hare Krishna, we are telling them to join temple. So once they join temple, they will do full-time service. However, it is observed, as Krishna explains in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye Yatatamapi Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Veti Tattva. Everyone will not be candidates for full-time. If we get one or two candidates, it's an achievement, because most of the people, they are not interested in such serious commitment. So under those circumstances, it is quite necessary that we should create some facility for yajnas where different people are connected at different places. When in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Nigama Kalpa Taror Galitam Phalam Shukamukad Amruta Drava Samhitam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavka. In this shloka, we are looking at the Galita Phala, the complete ready fruit, which is sweet and which is ready and which is touched by the lips of a parrot. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. We are looking at it. But if we have to get the Srimad Bhagavatam, there should be somebody who should have climbed the tree to give it, and when he climbs the tree, he cannot just throw it on the ground because it will be broken. Then it should be many people in the tree trunk. There should be somebody on the trunk, somebody will be on the branches, somebody will be on the extreme tip where the fruit is there, and carefully handed down to us. So similarly, the Vedas are like that tree. In Vedas, you may not find much differentiation between the different individual forms of the Lord. As I told you, Ganapati can be interpreted in so many ways. Ashwini Kumar can be interpreted in so many ways. So initially, these suktas and all may not give so much discrimination of who is supreme and all these things, but the procedures and these things remain the same. Gradually, the Upanishads, the Puranas, as you start reading the Puranas, it becomes more special. Okay, there is a hierarchy of gods. There is somebody superior, there is somebody inferior. The whole system is there, we will understand. And then finally, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the most ripened fruit which gives this complete information, complete knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Now, in the process of stepping towards that, there should be some people who will be on the lower rung also. That is when the society will sustain. So, similarly, today, if we are going to create a society along with the pure devotees who are completely dedicated, there will be many others. And if those others, if we don't catch them on the path of dharma, on the path of Vedas, they will be left into outside society where there is much adharma going on. They have to maintain through adharma, they have to maintain their own family, society, everything just by doing sinful activities. So, gradually, as the society advances, there is a need to more and more accommodate these things so that the people who are not on the level of pure devotion, anyhow, pure devotion must be encouraged, and there should be at least some people who should be encouraged to seriously take up pure devotion. But at the same time, we should understand practically that there can be difficulty. Everyone need not be on that highest level of pure devotion. So, under those circumstances, the Yajna Chakra or the Pravartita Chakra becomes very relevant here. Even if you are not on the highest level of complete surrender, at least you perform some yajnas and or you do something so that the process of yajnas get benefited. In this way, what happens is that you are somehow connected with the system, and that will gradually purify you someday. Now, why I gave this background? Because if all this has to be there, then a solid platform based on Vedic education is quite necessary. Yeah. So without the education on Vedas, then these things become too difficult. So, but what is the message of these Vedas? Are they really confusing? No. If you see the Yavad Arthodapane Tavan Sampradodake Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanata. Just like a lake, whatever the lake can do, all those things a ocean can also do. So similarly, what is happening is that similarly a person who knows the purpose of the Vedas, he knows how to use it properly. He doesn't discriminate saying this is irrelevant and this is relevant. He understands how to use this very properly. So that is why such Shishta Brahmanas are required in society. Now, there are some Shruti Vakyas here which speak about the Vedas. Naveda vin manute tarn brahantam. Taittiriya Brahmana 3.12.7. One who does not know the Vedas does not know the Supreme. So, in order to know the Supreme Lord, it's mandatory that we should study the Vedas. We should understand them through the Vedic literatures. Upanishadam Purusha Prichami. Who is that Purusha? Who is the Supreme Lord who is being glorified in the Upanishads? That is what I am asking. He says in the Brahadaranyaka Upanishad. Then Shruti Vacha Virupa Nityata Rigveda says Bhagwan who has multiple forms, please inspire us to glorify you with the eternal words of the Vedas. So, in this way, another Shruti Pramana is there which is impelling that we should understand the Lord through the Vedas. Now, Mahabharata itself gives a Pramana. Anadi Nidano Nitya Vagutsrucha Swayambhava Ado Veda Mai Divya Yatasarva Pravartaya. In the beginning of creation, Supreme Lord emitted the eternal, beginningless, endless, transcendental words in the form of Vedas. Eternal, beginningless, endless, transcendental Vedas. The Lord emanated at the beginning. There is no hint that Lord created. So, and all the creatures are getting benefited because of this. That is the understanding. So, there are different Shruti Pramanas also. Apart from logic, there are different Shruti Pramanas also which actually establish that these Vedic literatures, they are anadi and they are quite important for human society. So, these are some things which are connected to yesterday's class which had to be added. Before we proceed further, are there any questions you can ask me?
Just a curiosity question, Prabhu. That this Aranyaka, oh, it's Upanishad.
Yes, Prabhu. Aranyaka.
Sorry, Prabhu. I think there's some confusion in my mind about the question itself. I thought it was Aranyakas. I thought it is not a Upanishad.
No, Aranyaka is different, Upanishad is different. Upanishads
So
are
Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad is what?
Brihadaranyaka
Upanishad.
Upanishad is the Upanishad part which is a section in the Aranyaka. What happens is that if you see the Veda, it's not that chapters are exactly separated in the sense that first 25 are Brahmanas, next 25 are
Hmm.
Upanishads. Like that, it's not properly done. While as you study, somewhere in the middle, some Upanishads statements come, somewhere in the middle, some Aranyaka statements come. So, like that, it's all mixed up. And previous acharyas have selected some sections of it, and they have explicitly named them as Upanishads. So, Brahad Aranyaka Upanishad, in the Brahad Aranyaka, there is a section called Upanishads, the Upanishad section. So, that particular chapter comes there. That's how we have to
Hmm.
understand.
Okay.
So, Mohan Radhapati Prabhu, you have some question?
Yes, please. So, in the sloka you quoted yesterday, that Eta Niswasito Veda, something like that, to Lord breathed out Vedas, Itihasas, Puranas, everything from Lord breathed out. But then we say that the rishis, they wrote the Puranas, Itihasas,
Hmm.
and actually every kalpa, the Lord himself emanates even the other things other than Vedas. So why we say that only Vedas are apaurisaya and others are paurisaya?
Yes, Prabhu, very good question. It is because the Puranas and Itihasas, their form is not fixed. They come every kalpa, but then they come in different forms. Whereas the Vedas, the form is fixed. It is the same Veda that comes in the same sequence. You can't even the words can't change. You can't bring this word back and that word front. It is the same sequence that is followed millennium after millennium, every kalpa. Whereas in Puranas, the speaker may be different, the context may be different, it's completely different. And once the whole kalpa it gives service, those Puranas go and stay eternally in the intelligence of Vishnu. So next kalpa something new comes. That will also go again. He has infinite data. So it keeps on adding. And since Anadi, so many Puranas might have come, all of them are stored in his intelligence and they will continue. So the theme is same, but then the context can vary. Whereas in the Vedas, that context also will not vary.
Oh, okay, bro. Thank you, bro.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Vraja Vinod Prabhu, you had some question yesterday. You messaged it to me today
Oh,
morning.
yes, Prabhu. That is from actually from the Tattva Sandarbha. I'll just read it out for you. Prabhu, in Anucheda 10 of Tattva Sandarbha, related to the topic which we're discussing now, there is a purport. I think Baldev Devoshan's purport. It says, those who take the Vedas as material information composed by human knowledge cannot produce true knowledge since they lack non-human sources of knowledge and are subject to faults like Brahma. They produce only material knowledge like speech in the dream. Such ideas are non-Vedic. I did not understand this. So
Yes, Prabhu. So this is summary of our entire class of yesterday's, that commonly people are used to the understanding that world was created and it has come into existence. So when everything has come into existence, Vedas have also come into existence. Scientists and so many philosophers, somebody says that Vedas came into existence 3,000 years ago. Somebody says 5,000 years ago. Somebody says 10,000 years ago. Somehow at different times of time, they give timeline. That's why and so it has come into existence. So this idea that it is a material thing, like Kalidasa wrote Raghuvamsham. So now before Kalidasa wrote Raghuvamsham, there was no Raghuvamsham in human society. It is the first time it was created and given to the human society. So that is Paurushya Grantha because it was created by him. Whereas such a thing doesn't happen with Vedas. If somebody thinks that Vedas are material like that, means they are created at one point of time, and before that they were not there to serve human society, then that is a wrong information. And if they carry that wrong information, then there is no neutral pramana to understand dharmadi, that is dharma and atma and paramatma, all these things. There is no way to know other than the shrutis. And if you don't accept shruti itself as a apaurushya pramana, if you think they are material, manifested at a particular point of time by somebody's intelligence and logic, then we can't even we should perpetually be remaining in ignorance. Now Madhacharya jokes at a point of time. He says that we are not finding people to give bhashya on the Vedas. We are not finding people to explain the Vedas. It is becoming so difficult. And you are saying that somebody can create the Vedas. How can we even imagine that? He says. This was that time, during his time, when so much intellectuals were there. It was rare to find somebody who can give bhashya on the Vedas. So creator is even rare.
I've also heard arguments saying that the Vyasdev or Vopadev had thousands of disciples who was made to sit in one place, and the entire Bhagavatam and Mahabharata, everything was compiled. Different students compiled different sections, and it was later on made into a giant text.
Like that, there is one more argument. So why Aparusha is required? There is, in the process of our search, we will find one Sarvajna, one all-knowable person. Can it not be there? And that all-knowable person would have done this. So, do we know the past? Have you seen people in the past? So, can there not be a Sarvajna who will know everything, who will give a perfect guide for human society? Why do we require a formalized book like Vedas, whom we have to accept this is Aparusha, this doesn't have faults, and study that and follow it? So, that is one of the arguments. So, the counter argument to this is, first of all, who has seen a Sarvajna? If you meet a Sarvajna, who is there to evaluate that he is Sarvajna? It's me who has to evaluate, and I am not a Sarvajna. I don't have complete knowledge to evaluate that he is having complete knowledge. And if he speaks jokingly, there is no way that I can affirm that he is speaking jokingly or he is speaking seriously. I cannot, because I am myself in ignorance. So even if he is a Sarvajna, even if you get somebody all knowledgeable, still when he speaks, there is no guarantee that he might be speaking sarcastically, he might be speaking jokingly, that we cannot know. So with Purusha, there will always be these issues. So ultimately, Apurusha seems to be the most perfect. That is the understanding we derive from this.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Any other questions before we proceed to the Prameya part? Pramana part is over now. In the whole section of Pramanas, are there any doubts? You can ask. I'm not covered everything, because Anumana, for example, when we say Anumana itself is such a big section. There are Samanadhikarana Anumana. For example, the Vyapti, when you say smoke and fire, they are at the same place. Now, there are some Anumanas where the Vyapti and the Linga are at different places. For example, Urdhva Deshe Vrishti, Adho Deshe Nadipura. See, suddenly a river flowing very in a big way, lot of water is there in the river. Then we can guess that that side there has been a lot of rain, due to which here it is full. So they are at different places. Similarly, Kritika is rising. Seeing the rising of Kritika Nakshatra, we can guess very soon Rohini will rise. This becomes especially relevant during Janmashtami, because moon will be in Rohini Nakshatra, and people will be waiting for the moon rise to do the Arghya Pradhana. So that is when they see Kritika, they will understand, oh, very soon Rohini will be rising after this. So there are different places where Anumana is done in different circumstances. So Anumana itself is quite a detailed thing. So we have not gone into that detail, we have just the surface. Yes, Mohan Radhapati Prabhu.
So at one place you told that Pratyaksha is greater than Anumana. So it is in what context? Because in some situations we see that by Pratyaksha we are getting wrong information, and by Anuman, by logic, we get the correct information. So, so is it?
No, you see, Pratyaksha is never wrong. Our senses are wrong. If we correct our senses,
Mhm.
the knowledge that comes is anyway coming correctly. Okay, so
Mhm.
Pratyaksha as a pramana can never be considered wrong. Similarly, Anumana as pramana can never be considered wrong. Okay, but when you are clearly seeing something, your eyes are perfect and you are clearly getting the knowledge that this is so, and you are not undergoing any illusion or refraction or anything. Under those circumstances, will we believe in what we see, or somebody comes and speculates, no, maybe it's like this, maybe it's like that, and that speculation is accepted.
Mhm. Yes, we believe true. When Pratyaksha Pramani we are getting perfectly, then of course it is better.
There is
Yes.
no need of Anumana, and Anumana is not
Mhm.
valued also at that time.
Mhm. But
So
in other
Pratyaksha
cases,
should not be something neglected. What we are saying is that, Prabhu, we are in Shabda Pramana, Pratyaksha Anumana is not neglected, but then you should tally it with Shruti. When there is no need to tally it with Shruti, normal Pratyaksha we anyway accept. But when Shruti says something, then that is considered superior.
so also we see that different objects and entities, they reveal themselves through different pramana.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Like that smoke and fire behind the hill. So
Yes.
so that it reveals itself through Anumana.
Yes.
Means
Correct.
person far cannot understand through Pratyaksha.
Yes.
So so in that case, we cannot. Can we say that Anumana is better than Pratyaksha? Because actually he is not having Pratyaksha at that time, no?
Ha,
So,
Anumana is useful when Pratyaksha doesn't work. You can say like that. Okay.
Mhm.
Pratyaksha doesn't work in situations where this it's in a different place or in a different situation where your senses cannot grasp. Indriya Sannikarsham Pratyaksham, where Indriya Sannikarsha cannot happen. When senses cannot grasp, at that time Anumana is used. So in different context it is used. But when both of them are used, when both of them are revealing knowledge, Pratyaksha should be given first priority.
Mhm. Okay, please.
Sometimes two pramanas give the same knowledge. So like that.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I missed most of your session today, but I think you have covered or not. I'm not sure, but Vedas divided into Samhita, Brahmana. You said.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Uh, so this division of Vedas, according to what classification, Prabhuji? Because we have Rig Veda, Samaveda, they are also there. So how we can understand
So
these
depends on
classification of
primarily which,
Samhita, Brahmana?
yes, Prabhu. Depends on primarily which ashrama people use it. So all the four Vedas have these four divisions. Samhita is primarily used in Brahmacharya ashram for memorization. Brahmana is used in Grahastha ashrama for practically performing yajnas. Aranyaka is used to perform austerities in the forest when we are away from family life to cultivate detachment. Finally, Upanishads to cultivate the ultimate detachment and get completely attached to Supreme Lord or Parabrahma.
So in all four Vedas, these divisions are there, Guruji, or
Yes, yes. In all the
only
four
some?
Vedas, these divisions are there.
And how the darshanas are different from Upanishads, Guruji? These are part of the Upanishads. How we can understand?
Darshana Shastras are different. Darshana Shastras, everyone have their own priorities, everyone they have their own philosophy. For example, Charvaka Darshana is completely atheistic. He doesn't accept anything other than Pratyaksha as a pramana. So for him, there's the different. Darshana means a system of philosophy or system of understanding. So Charvak's system of understanding is completely different. Similarly, the Nayayikas, for them everything is logic. You don't question anything other than logic for us. If they don't accept anything Apaurushya, for them everything is Paurushya. Vedas are also Paurushya because logically it doesn't fit with the argument that Vedas can be Apaurushya. Similarly, Mimamsakas have their own understanding of things. For them, karma is the topmost. Ultimately, you have to perform karma and you have to go to Swarga. That is the topmost for the Mimamsakas. So every darshana has their own peculiar view of the world.
Yes, Prabhuji. So,
In that,
do
like,
these
sorry,
darshanas come under the category of Vedas, Prabhuji?
No, darshanas are a set of people. Like we 10 people are there. Now today 10 people of us can form a new darshana with a different
Oh,
ideology, completely different from others.
okay, okay. So we
Like
have
that.
to see these ideologies are in line with the conclusions of the Vedas
Basically,
or
the
not.
Vedanta ideology is the most perfect because it encompasses the necessary things among all these things for the sake of perfecting human life.
Okay, Prabhuji, like one small question.
Hmm.
So when these ideologies have set of philosophical conclusions, and we also have the greatest pramana, that is Vedas. So why can't we take the Vedas itself? Why we should rely, or in what aspects
See,
should
ISKCON is
we
a
rely
big
on these
society.
darshanas?
ISKCON is a big society where Prabhupada books are pramana. Why do we have Ritviks? Why do we have non-Ritviks and so many other divisions? It is because people are interpreting the same books differently. So, like that, the Vedic Darshana also, the same Vedas are interpreted differently by different people.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Right.
Rukmini Govinda Prabhu, you have any question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for your
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, my question is that given that Shabda Praman is the bona fide way of receiving knowledge, what is the relevance of Pratyaksha Praman and Hanuman Praman for a sadhaka? Means,
No, all of them
how
are
much?
bona fide. All of them are bona fide ways of achieving knowledge. Pratyaksha is also bona fide. When you see an object, when you see a stone, when you see a wood, when you see mobile phone here, you understand that this is a mobile phone by Pratyaksha. So Pratyaksha is definitely a bona fide way. Similarly, Anuvana is also bona fide way in its limits. Now there are some limitations for each of these. With Pratyaksha, I cannot see what is where you are sitting now. For example, Pratyaksha doesn't help me to understand where you are sitting. But I can use Anumana and say that for hearing such a class, a person generally sits on a chair or generally sits down. He has to sit. He cannot be standing in a bus and do Anumana. I generally do. So some Anumana I can do when Pratyaksha fails. When Pratyaksha fails, we do Anumana. When Pratyaksha Anumana fail, we do Shabda. So that is how we should understand it. They are for different situations.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you. And one more question, Prabhu, that you told that the six darshanas, about six darshanas. So you told except for Charvak theory, others are theistic.
Yes,
But
correct.
we see that in Karma Mimamsa and some other Karma Mimamsa and Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they are not referring it directly to the Lord, but they are referring to other concepts.
No, they are
So,
theistic because they accept Vedas. So when they
okay,
accept Vedas, at least they know that there is some deity who should be worshipped. There should be somebody whom offering should be given. So
okay.
they may be confused about who that supreme deity is.
And the last question, like, means you told that darshanas refer to some kind of ethics or some kind of morality. So, could you
Yes.
please explain to in detail what is the morality?
No, morality means we all agree, right? So you should do good work. You should not do bad for others. You should not steal somebody's money. So some rules we all want to follow. Even the greatest atheists, they don't want that somebody steals their money and takes away. Ideally, they should be open for that because if you don't believe in Vedas, then you should not believe in any rules. Because when you say some standardization is required, so why not accept the Apaurusha standard is our argument. So even the greatest of these atheists also, some morality, some standard they must accept. That is the idea.
Thank you, thank you.
Earlier, I had compiled one paper. I would just like to take the Prabhupada quotes from this. It's a big thing. What is why Vedas are required in ISKCON? That was the my thing. So some of these quotes of Prabhupada I would like to go through and some of the shlokas. Okay, we all studied this yesterday. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna, Nirdandvo Nitya Sattvasto, Niryogakshemam Atmavan. Vedas deal mainly with the subject of three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from the dualities and from anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. You see, he is clearly saying that become transcendental to the three modes, not become transcendental to the Vedas themselves. Okay. Now, in the 15th chapter, 18th verse, Prabhupada mentions this. In all the Vedic literature, beginning from four Vedas, purport, beginning from four Vedas, Vedanta Sutras, Upanishads, and the Puranas, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated. By performing of Vedic rituals, discussion of Vedic philosophy, and worship of Lord in devotional service, worship of Lord, devotional service is attained. So ultimately, by Vedic rituals, discussion of philosophy, and worshipping the Lord, in all these three things, ultimately the Supreme Lord is attained, is what Prabhupada says. He further elaborates in Bhagavad Gita 15.15 purport. The Vedas give the right direction to people so they can mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and Krishna in his incarnation as Vyasadeva is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutras. Very important point here to understand is that Prabhupada is saying that in his incarnation, Vyasadeva, he is the compiler of Vedanta Sutras. It is not mentioned is the compiler of Vedas. Krishna himself says, Vedanta Krut Veda Videha Chaham. He doesn't say that I am the Vedanta Krut and I am the Vedakarta also. He says, I know the Vedas and I am the author of Vedanta Sutras. So what he says. Now further, Bhagavad Gita 15.15 purport. Okay, this is 15.15 purport. Now in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 45th chapter and verse number 33, the best of the Brahmanas, the spiritual master Sandipani, was satisfied with their submissive behavior. There means Krishna Balram's submissive behavior. And thus he taught them the entire Vedas together with the six corollaries and the Upanishads. So you see, the Lord himself, Loka Sangraham Evapi Sampashan Partumarasi, he speaks in Bhagavad Gita that yet the great personalities have to be a role model so that others will follow. Yadi hyaham na varteyam karyam karmanya tandrata mama vartamanu vartante manusya partha sarvasha. If I don't perform things properly, then what will happen? Then everyone will follow my role model and everyone will say that see, Krishna only did not perform, why we have to do. So I have to do my job responsibly, he says. Now that Krishna, once he went back, he killed Kamsa and his father took charge of him. Immediately he put him in Gurukula of Sandipani Muni. And very soon the Krishna Balram learnt the entire Vedas by heart. So the Supreme Lord is giving the role model by himself studying this. That is the importance of these Vedic literatures we should understand. And further in the 8.28 purport of Bhagavad Gita, as it is, Prabhupada says, one has to study the Vedas under the guidance of a spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant. He must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the students for food that day, the student fasts. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for a period of 5 to 20 years, he may become a man of perfect character. You see, he may become a man of perfect character after he studies this. Study of the Vedas is not meant for recitation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. So, another statement, the institution of Varna and Ashrama prescribed many regulative duties to be observed by his followers. Such duties enjoin that a candidate is willing to study the Vedas must approach a bona fide spiritual master and request acceptance as his disciple. The sacred thread is the sign of those who are competent to study the Vedas from the Acharya or bona fide spiritual master. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2. So anyone gets a sacred thread, it is an indication that he is competent to study the Vedas. Finally, Prabhupada speaks in 1969, letter to Brahmananda Swami, 23rd March. This is very interesting. Bhakti Shastri is awarded after extensive study of Bhagavad Gita, Easy Journey to Other Planets and Nectar of Devotion. Bhakti Vaibhava is awarded after the study of Vedanta Sutra and Srimad Bhagavatam on a preliminary basis. And Bhakti Vedanta, the highest title, is awarded after extensive study of Chaitanya Charitamrita. You see, in the first Bhakti Shastri, if you see how it was, Prabhupada in the first Bhakti Shastri, he just gave 10 questions. And anyone who answers these 10 questions, they will get a Bhakti Shastri degree. Those 10 questions, if you search, it will be available anywhere. Gradually, he made it more and more difficult. He raised the bar, in which he said 4 books have to be accepted for Bhakti Shastri. And Srimad Bhagavatam has to be accepted for Bhakti Vaibhav. Now, in the present day society, that bar that is raised of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are having 6 cantos of that Bhagavatam for Bhakti Vaibhav and the remaining as study in Bhakti Vedanta along with Chaitanya Charitamrita. However, Prabhupada wanted more. Prabhupada wanted that eventually Bhakti Vaibhava should include not only Bhagavatam, the study of Vedanta Sutras, Brahma Sutras, its commentaries, and Srimad Bhagavatam completely should be a part of Bhakti Vaibhava. If you see in all the traditional schools, the Shankara, the Madhva, the Ramanuja, everyone, Brahma Sutras are studied, and that is the culmination of education there. So that standard Prabhupada expected even in our system, that people should come to that level where Brahma Sutras and Srimad Bhagavatam has to be studied for Bhakti Vaibhav. Yes, Prabhuji. Now, any questions related to this you can ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, like yesterday also, we discussed this point regarding the Traigunya Vishya Veda, Nitrayagurya Bhavachana.
Yes.
In that translation, Prabhupada explains that the Vedas mainly deal with 3 modes of material nature. So when most of the things are related to, pertaining to this material nature, so then naturally the question comes, question arises. Then why should I go for the Vedas when the Vedas are talking about mostly about 3 modes of material nature? Then I can take up something else. Then the Vedas will not become the pramana for understanding the conclusions of the absolute truth. So how we can understand this, please?
Yeah, so this section comes in the beginning of the Mundaka Upanishad. Mundaka Upanishad, wherein it is mentioned, there is a statement that the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharvana Veda, and the 6 Vedangas, everything is avidya. Only Brahma Vidya is Vidya. That is the statement of Mundaka Upanishad. So, Shankaracharya interprets it as Brahma Vidya is found only in Upanishads. So only Upanishads itself are avidya. Only Upanishads itself are vidya. Everything else is avidya. So Brahmana, Aranyaka. So Shankaracharya follows the same standard which we are thinking or which we have been taught till now, that everything else is ignorance. Only the Upanishads are knowledge. Okay. However, other acharyas disagree with him because that completely conflicts with the statement of the Supreme Lord, Atosmi Loke Vedecha Pratita Purushottam. In the Loka and in the Veda, in the Puranas and in the Vedas, it's only Purushottama who is glorified, only Krishna who is glorified. So that completely conflicts with that understanding. It is like you have a house, and when you have a house, you are living in your room. We have a study room, or we have a room for our research or some other activities and all. We are living in our room. No, just because my room is my workplace, it is very nice. I don't collapse the whole house for the sake of my room, because if I do that, then there is no living room for me. Then there is no place to cook food for me. There is no place where I worship the Lord. There is no place where um, I eat my food. Correct. Yeah, I need the whole house. I need all these places for my house to be proper. So similarly, it's not that we are always on the transcendental plane. We are candidates to go back to Godhead. There is some time we have to work in life. Some hours of the day we have to work to maintain our body. Some other times we have to be with the family. There are some pleasures with the family. Some food is served and all these things. We have to be with the family. We also have a social network outside. We have friends and all. So any system which doesn't understand this is fanatic. saying that no, only spiritual responsibility, I am just only on the top and nothing else. Now many people tried this and they fell down because they could not continue that, and that is exactly what Krishna says in third chapter of Gita, that you become a mithyachari if you are not sufficiently detached but still be on the topmost. So we have to be practical, that when difficulties come or when situations come, when other things are needed, that time better take shelter of Vedas than take shelter of other things. Now somebody, his wife is not becoming pregnant, you get IVF done, in vitro fertilization. Now this IVF, these statements can be controversial, but we are willing to debate on it. Uh, IVF, when you do, then the treatment of IVF would have earlier been experimented on pigs or on rabbits, on deer, on goat, on so many animals. It would have been experimented, and many of them would have lost life. And the whole pharmacy industry, everything. So when we go for this, it is more karma, it is more sinful process of doing it. Traditionally, what was done is certain planets were propitiated. When the planets are propitiated, then they would become pregnant. So that was a more dharmic way of dealing with this situation, more dharmic way of solving. Somebody is having a I mean, his life is about to end. So these problems were solved in a more dharmic way, or divorce is there in his chart and all this thing. So the solutions given by Vedas, they bring us to the platform of dharma. First level is Athato Dharma Jignasa. Next level is Athato Brahma Jignasa. We have heard Athato Brahma Jignasa, and that is frequently spoken of, but we have not heard Athato Dharma Jignasa so much. Jaimini gives Mimamsa Sutras, and he says it begins with Athato Dharma Jignasa. Now that you have a human body, at least start thinking about morality, start thinking about ethics, start thinking about dharma, start thinking about how to do good in the world. So that will, what will be the immediate result of that? You will be happy in this life and next life. So that is the immediate result of that. That is the second sutra in Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa Sutras. So at least that is an attraction tool for people to stay on the platform of dharma, morality. Now, after performing dharma for lifetimes, enjoying heavenly pleasures, taking rebirth again, finally, oh, this is not working out, I should do something. That is when you are candidates for Athato Brahma Jignasa, the supreme truth, where you get liberated completely from this material world. Now, when even in Krishna consciousness, we bring people to Krishna consciousness, we preach to them and we tell, follow this highest path. What about those candidates who miss out? Because most of the candidates are going to miss out. Recently, we had Krishna Janmashtami, 200 people registered for Gita course. And on the first day, we had 55 people. Today, 7th chapter is over. Today, I'm going to take 8th chapter, and 30 people, 25 to 30 people are joining. Because it's nature's law. Manushanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhe. Most of the people are getting lost. But if dharma is there to hold people, at least they will be dharmic sometime in life, they will do Krishna Paramastu. Some way they are connected to this. So it is our responsibility to have Vedas and create a dharmic society, and in that select a cream, core people who are going to be the candidates for Parodharma, the topmost dharma of devotional service to Vishnu. This is the Vedic plan. This is the plan which is organized by Vedic society. If you become fanatics and reject everything else, then only the top people are going to stay, everything else is out. Now, what is the problem with that? There is a problem that top people are also not allowed to stay. Suppose you are a congregation of devotees in Sringeri, or you are a congregation of devotees in Las Vegas. Which is more convenient for practicing bhakti? For the brahmacharis, which environment will become more easy to practice bhakti?
Yeah,
Las Vegas.
this question is a clear answer. The first question doesn't have a clear answer.
Yes. So now you are having 100 people and you are going to have only 10 brahmacharis. Remaining 90, you want to leave them to create Las Vegas around you, or you want to hold all of them and make them create Sringeri or Melakote or some Ujjain, some dharmic place. That is what the Vedic plan is. Is that clear, Prabhu? Does that answer the question? Dharmeshwar Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mohan
Thank you so
Radhapati
much.
Prabhu, you had a question?
So in the quotes you showed, so there when Prabhupada says that one should study Vedas, so does it mean Prabhupada only means that we should study Vedanta Sutra, or literally he means Vedas? And if he means Vedas, then how much of Vedas are actually available, or is what it actually means? I have no understanding.
Yeah, you see, here when Prabhupada says Vedas, there is no scope to interpret it to mean something else. Vedas means Vedanta Sutras. Vedanta Sutras means Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam means chanting Hare Krishna. And I am chanting Hare Krishna, so then there is no need to study anything. So there is no need of the interpretations. When milk is served, when milk is asked, milk is served. So similarly, when Vedas is said, eventually Prabhupada says, Prabhupada is quite particular about this. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances. Correct. And here it's also said that Upanayana, the sacred thread, is given as an indication that the person is competent to study the Vedas from the Acharya. So he's quite explicit on that, that these things have to be taught in traditional education. He might not have introduced it immediately because the Krishna consciousness, there are many things he did not introduce initially. Initially, when he was in the West, people were just, they were given one candle in the hand and they would offer that one candle to the deities. Gradually, he formalized the process of deity worship and make it more standard. The process of sannyasa was made more standard. So many things were made more standard. So now gradually the system of education also should be standardized, and he has given a blueprint for that, that Vedas have to be taught. Brahma Sutras should be a part of Bhakti Vaibhav course. So he has given the blueprint which should be taken forward. That is what I could understand from this.
So the second part was how much of Veda is actually available.
Yes,
For
that is very good question. You see, Vedas are so huge in number. Anyway, Lord selects for a kalpa small section of Vedas only to be given. Okay, for every kalpa. So at any point of time, even at the beginning of kalpa, only a small section of Vedas are only available. Among what Lord has given, of course, in today's age, still small section would be available, no doubt about that. So that is one of the things that if you go and search through the Vedas, you will not get the ultimate knowledge. Ultimately, without Srimad Bhagavatam, you cannot do it. So you have to study Srimad Bhagavatam, you have to study Srimad Bhagavad Gita, whatever is given by our acharyas. There is absolutely no doubt in that. But when it comes to establishing this society on dharma, you cannot create dharma without Vedas. Uh, Ultimately, the backbone of Vedas should be established so that at least the environment becomes dharmic. Uh, Shankaracharya revived the Vedic culture, Ramanujacharya did that, Madhvacharya did it, and different acharyas did it. You see, with all Atyanta Durlabha Prema that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given, the highest love and highest philosophy that he has given, no doubt about that. There is nothing higher than that in this world. But that highest philosophy candidates were very few. The others who did not take that highest philosophy just created a class of Sahajiyasam. And generation after generation, Acharyas are battling this Sahajiyasam. Mahaprabhu left, there was problem. Vishwanath and Baldev had to lift it up. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baldev Vidyabhushan had to again lift up Gaudiya Vaishnava. Then again there are problems. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur had to lift it up. And then the whole onus was on Srila Prabhupada. So it is mainly because this whole thing is not coming under the bracket of dharma. If the majority of society is in dharma and the small minority are in pure devotion, that pure devotion sustains more strongly. So that is how we should understand this.
this is thank you, Prabhu.
So, Vraja Vinod Prabhu.
Prabhu, a question based on what you just said, that every kalpa, the Lord decides on the section of the Vedas which gets revealed to mankind. I was just reflecting on when Khilji attacked Nalanda University, so many scriptures got burnt.
Hmm.
Oh, it was revealed by the Lord's plan, it was by whatever, again, the Lord's plan only it got lost. So how do we view this? How do we see this?
I mean, we should understand that in this context, so much is enough for us. So Lord has maintained that much.
So whatever it
It's
is,
the Lord who is the decision maker at any stage as to what scriptures are beneficial for us.
whatever is there only we are not able to study.
Yes.
Thank you.
Whatever is there is too huge actually.
We should thank Khilji maybe once.
Yes, Prabhuji. Are there any more discussions? So all these pramanas, they culminate in the prameya of Ishvara. There are 5 pramayas that are discussed in this book. There are many pramayas. There is a Prameya Ratnavali book. Prameya Ratnavali speaks of Nava Prameya, Sriman Madhvamate Hariparatara Satyam Jagat Tattvato Vedo Jivagana Hare Ranuchara Nichocha Bhavangata Muktir Naija Sukhanubhuti Ramala Bhaktischa Tat Sadhanam Yakshadi Tritiya Pramanam Akila Amna Yaike Vedyo Harihi. So Vyasatirtha summarizes the whole message of the parampara. What are the most important points in the parampara were summarized by Vyasatirtha? He says there are 9 important points in our parampara. What is that? Hariparatara. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's the first point. Imad Madhvate Hariparatara Satyam Jagat. The material world is real, it is not false. Tattvataha Bhedo Jivagana. Even among living entities, either conditioned or liberated, there is always an hierarchy. All the living entities are not the same. Either in conditioned state or liberated state, there will be a hierarchy, top and bottom, it will be there. Muktir Naija Sukhanubhuti. The real happiness is liberation. That is why Prabhupada always says you should go back to Godhead. You should not be in this miserable world. And Amla Bhaktishta Satsadhanam. The only way to go back to Godhead is pure devotional service. There is no other way, Vyasatirtha says. Amla Bhaktishta Tat Sadhanam. Uktirnaija Sukhanubhuti Ramala Bhaktischa Tat Sadhanam. Yakshadi Tritiya Pramanam Akila. There are only 3 pramanas. What is that? Pratyaksha, Anumana and Shabda. These are the only 3 pramanas that are accepted. Amnyaya Ekya Vedyoho Hari. Through all these pramanas, the only person to be known is Supreme Lord Hari. So from Vedas, from all Shastras, everything, the only object of knowledge is Supreme Lord Hari. So these are the 9 prameyas which are discussed in the book Prameya Ratnavali by Baldev Vidyabhushan. In this book, 5 prameyas are discussed. They are Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma. So, and they are all the topics of Bhagavad Gita also. Prabhupada has explained that. So, what is this Ishvara? How different he is from Jivas and how different he is from others and how to understand him. So, we will slowly start getting into this now. So, beginning next week. Anything else to add? Please let me know.
So 9 things which you told, so it sounds similar to the means I heard somewhere Dasamul Tattva Bhaktivinoda Thakur is
Yes,
Amnaya
sir. Dashamula Tattva is based on Prameya Ratnavali of Baldev Vidyabhushan only.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Please let me know if anything else is there. Ojasvi Krishna Prabhu. Yes.
Not a question, but actually, if you can share the notes, that would be good.
Yes. What I'm doing now is that these lectures which are there, I'm transcribing them. There are AI tools which transcribe that. I'll just transcribe that and put it in a Google Drive for all of you. If anyone has some time that they can try to help in bringing these notes in order, because transcription, it can come with, for example, Hare Krishna, the spelling was wrong. I saw in the transcript like that. So if anyone can help in this regard to help organize these transcripts properly, I was thinking eventually it could be compiled as some notes or some study material. So please let me know if possible.
Prabhu, can you also share your paper which you just showed a little, and also the Prameya Ratnavali verse which you just mentioned? If you can just
Prameya Ratnavali I have not written in this paper. I memorized it. I will share it with you in the group.
thank you. I was just making notes. I just could manage to know 7 out of the 9.
Mhm.
I think when you send the verse, it will be more.
The shloka begins with Sriman Madhvamate Hari Paratarha. So unless there is anything else, then we can wind up and we can meet next week. So tomorrow we are celebrating Radhashtami. So very soon in the Jiva Tattva, there will be Lakshmi Tattva. There will be a separate section which will be discussing about Lakshmi Tattva also. So these things will gradually come up. Wish you all a happy Radhashtami festival, and we will meet next week. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyavcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.